this Nicky Rudd, who asked Ben Shapiro the USS Liberty question, he really got under the skin of Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire crew.
Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
Now, this alpha male, his name is Brent Scher, is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire. Now, this guy, he really knows what he's talking about. He's a real facts type of guy. He knows the truth about the USS Liberty, right? And he decided that he was so appalled by what Nick Rudd asked Ben Shapiro about the USS Liberty that he decided he would, quote, retweet Nicky Rudd's video about Ben Shapiro, because he posted a new video about Ben Shapiro, and said, Nazi youth kid from America Fest, the TPUSA event, is also a socialist. How many of you remember when Ben Shapiro was asked about why did you say the USS Liberty attack by Israel was irrelevant? I love that we've moved past the facts that, it actually happened, because what they used to say is, oh, don't talk about that. Israel didn't do that. That's a conspiracy theory. Yes, there's leaked, and unredacted CIA, U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Army, U.S. Navy. They've all admitted to this, that it did happen. It was Israel. Yes, all the survivors have come out, and they even have an organization dedicated to showing exactly what happened, dedicated research showing that this was planned about a year out in advance. But, it's a conspiracy theory. That's what they used to say. Now we've moved past that, and we can at least admit that it did happen, but we still have Ben Shapiro saying it's irrelevant. We have Ben Shapiro's friend, the other guy that spoke at this TPUSA event, saying, maybe they deserved it. Maybe they were spying on behalf of the Egyptians or the Arabs. Maybe they called someone a bad actor before they got blown up. Okay. You remember this, though, right?
You cited during your speech truth as the most important tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
That's a lot of conspiracy theorists in that audience right there.
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence.
Don't you know? It was a mistake, don't you see? It was a mistake. Everyone knows. I know I told you it was a conspiracy theory 3 years ago, but now I say it's a mistake.
And using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or...
Wait, so it's irrelevant to cite facts or statistics or events from World War II to justify our good or bad relations with a country today? Then what is your justification for why the United States should eternally support Israel? Huh? How does that make any sense? Because I think if the script was flipped on Ben Shapiro, why does the United States and every country, why do they have to provide this eternal support for the state of Israel? He'd probably say, well, you go back in history and you see what happened to the now Israeli people back in World War II. Well, it's such a, we have to eternally support the state of Israel now. Wait, what did he just say? He just said it's irrelevant to do that?
Today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or Germany today.
Yeah, so he's just a hypocrite. No surprise there. I'm not surprised.
That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved, that it wasn't bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at the actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty, it was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack.
Okay, let's just use some basic logic here. Let's use some basic... Ben Shapiro is a resident of Tennessee. So let's do some Tennessee logic, okay? Now, I don't think Ben would find himself in a position like this, but I really don't think, because Ben is a masculine, strong alpha male. But let's say that Ben was not the strong alpha male, and let's say that Ben's wife, he caught his wife cheating on him, hypothetically, right? And Ben's wife cheated on him with a guy, and the guy was at the bar down the street in Tennessee, in Brentwood, Tennessee, or Nashville, Tennessee. Well, Ben decides, his big alpha male, he's going to go down to the bar, and he's going to teach that guy a lesson for sleeping with a married woman, right? Big, strong Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro goes to the bar, he sees the guy, and he comes up to him, sucker punches him as he's turned around, leaning over the bar. The guy gets knocked out cold, hits his head on the ground, passes away. Okay, Ben didn't mean to do that. He just meant to hit the guy. That was it. But it turns out that the guy that he hit was actually not the right guy. Turns out that Ben had it all wrong. The guy that slept with his wife was actually not at that bar. He was at a different bar. Well, can Ben now just say, oy vey, it was a mistake. It was the wrong guy. I didn't mean to punch him in the back of the head. I didn't mean to sucker punch him. You have to understand, my wife cheated on me, and this was the wrong guy, and I got angry. Does that work? Because that's kind of the same logic here. He's like, well, yeah, a bunch of people were unalived, but it was an accident. We thought that, well, actually, no, that's not true either. And the young man that asked Ben Shapiro the question, of course, he wasn't allowed to respond in a detailed manner, but he responded while he was walking away from asking the question while still at the TPOSA event. He did a brilliant breakdown. Take a look at this video. This is Nicky Rudd, the guy that asked Ben Shapiro the question, actually explaining what happened.
Ben Shapiro lied. He said that the USS Liberty incident was an accident. Israel accidentally bombed the USS Liberty. Let's talk about it. The American flag was flying on that ship. When it got shot down the first time, they replaced it, signifying we are Americans, signaling the Israelis to stop their attack. They continued it anyways. On top of that, on the side of the ship, the name USS Liberty and the hull number were clearly delineated. There was no mistaking that that was an American ship. There was, we got stuff going on. There was it's a very clear day. There was perfect weather. You could tell from miles and miles away, it was an American ship. American flag, USS Liberty name, whole number on the side. They knew.
These are all just like basic things, basic historical facts that have been recounted by all parties, all intelligence agencies, the U.S. Navy, the Israeli, like they all say this stuff about what took place that day. You can listen to any of it. Go to any of the resources.
Knew what it was. And they continued the barrage. The attack lasted for over 90 minutes. Over 90 minutes, they continued to shoot. American soldiers trying.
So actually, the hypothetical I provided you with, I was slightly right, slightly wrong, in making that hypothetical. It would actually only be correct if Ben Shapiro then proceeded to continue punching that unconscious man on the ground for another 90 minutes and then acting like it was all a mistake and saying he got the wrong guy and whoopsies, right? That's a better analogy.
Trying to survive the slaughter, lowered down lifeboats into the water. What did the Israelis do? They shot them down. You know what that is called? A war crime.
You deserve everything good in your life. Thank you and a happy new year.
The real orange man, thank you so much. Right back at you.
Seems like a common theme for the Israeli military nowadays. Kind of like this vibe we're walking through all these people. Yeah, it seems like they do that, whether it's the USS Liberty, whether it's innocent Palestinian women and children in Gaza. They keep bombing people. And I'm not okay with that. I don't think we should be okay with that as Americans. And there's nothing wrong with questioning that.
Yeah, no, there's definitely nothing wrong with questioning that. Maybe in another 70 years, Ben Shapiro or his son will come out and say that, other events were accidents, like maybe something that happened on September 10th this year. I don't know. Anyway, so what's incredible about this is that clearly this Nicky Rudd, who asked Ben Shapiro the USS Liberty question, he really got under the skin of Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire crew. Now, this alpha male, his name is Brent Scher. Now, Brent Scher is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire. All right. Now, this guy, he really knows what he's talking about. He's a real facts type of guy. He knows the truth about the USS Liberty, right? And he decided that he was so appalled by what Nick Rudd asked Ben Shapiro about the USS Liberty that he decided he would quote retweet Nicky Rudd's video about Ben Shapiro, because he posted a new video about Ben Shapiro, and said, Nazi youth kid from America Fest, the TPUSA event, is also a socialist. I just always find it amazing, right? You know, these stupid Daily Wire people, they sit around and it's such LARP. It's such LARP. They sit around and they're smoking pipes and they're smoking their cigars, and like, you know, none of them actually smoke cigars just for the hell of it, just for fun in a casual setting. They get to the studio, they put on their suit, and they're like, all right, men, we're going to smoke some cigars now. Like real men, right? It's so performative. They get there, they smoke their cigars, and, you know, they're real history buffs, right? Despite the fact that the bloodiest, most deadly war in human history was a battle between communist Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, they say things like this: Nazi youth kid from America Fest is also a socialist. Really got to be one or the other, okay? Got to be one or the other. Now, the amazing thing about this video is, like, it's the most benign video that Nicky Rudd posted. It's so benign. He's talking about, like, a Christmas movie. And everything he said is actually worthwhile of a very healthy debate. There's no reason to call him a Nazi. As for calling him a socialist, I would say that maybe he doesn't identify as a socialist, but the argument he's making is socialistic. Really, it is. Traders SC, thank you so much for the generous super chat. I appreciate it. So let's listen to what he has to say.
Merry Christmas. To keep with the festive spirit of this holiday, let's listen to Ben Shapiro's review of It's a Wonderful Life, the greatest Christmas movie of all time, and arguably the greatest movie of all time. Let's hear it.
Also, Lionel Barrymore is correct. So on a financial level, the villain of this piece is actually the hero, because if Jimmy Stewart actually gets his way, all of Bedford Falls collapses in the subprime mortgage crisis. Basically, Jimmy Stewart keeps giving out loans without proper checking into the credit history of the people he's giving loans to based on his sort of assessment of their own personal viability financially. Lionel Barrymore is much more by the numbers. Lionel Barrymore is a better banker.
Bro's not beating the allegations.
And that local bank probably goes under. So the movie was supposed to be sort of a quasi-socialistic FDR parable.
So Ben...
You see, the good guy in the movie is actually the villain, because his bank wouldn't have survived because he's not predatory enough. He's not screwing over the average people enough. The average people, they're just NPCs, right? They're just extras. Who cares about them? What we care about is the real hero, the predatory banker, right? Amazing.
Shapiro's financial hero is the greedy, miserly old banker who screws over the working class of Bedford Falls, not the compassionate George Bailey, who provides quality low-income housing and fair interest rates to the working class of Bedford Falls, which in turn turns them into better citizens and allows them to participate and contribute in the local economy more.
Again, everything he's saying in this video is totally worthwhile of a healthy debate. Ben Shapiro doesn't agree. If he thinks that there should be no regulation on banks, right? And, you know, I'm sure Ben Shapiro felt great about when Barack Obama, he made like 5 million people lose their homes. And then Barack Obama proceeded to bail out the banks after 2008, building upon George Bush's initial bailout of the banks in Wall Street. and then Barack Obama failed to prosecute anyone responsible for 2008. Like, that is totally something that Ben Shapiro agrees with. Totally okay. You know, like that's your view of my country. Okay, you say that banksters should be allowed to do whatever they want, screw over the entire country if it means just one more dollar. That's your view, Ben Shapiro. You can have that view. I think you're wrong. I think that, you know, it would be equally as insane. You know, Ben Shapiro would be like, well, regulation is the source of all evil. Okay, so should we not regulate nuclear power plants? Like, should we not regulate the private companies? And yes, they are private companies that deal with the storage of nuclear waste in the United States. Like, it's the source of all evil, really? Really? Are we in 2004 right now? Are we 10 years old watching some stupid Fox News funded animation, some PragerU animation in 2008 on YouTube? Like, what are we doing with ourselves? Let's be real here. Anyways, but I do want to take into account what Brent Schur had to say about this being a socialistic or something. Yeah, that's what he said. He said he's a socialist. And it is socialistic. I will say that. Okay, we can look at history. This is Haz al-Din, the chairman of the American Communist Party, who tweeted this. And here's a little rendition of how it all went down back at the start of World War II. When Lenin came to power, the Bolsheviks came to power, they canceled all foreign debt on day one. All of the loans that the European banksters were receiving interest payments and payments on from the Russian Empire, when Lenin and the Bolsheviks came to power, they immediately canceled it all. They said, we're not paying a dime back. And that's why the Western banksters had all of their militiamen and all of their military personnel who were very tired after World War I go and invade Russia and try to overthrow the Bolsheviks and stop their revolution. Germany, when Hitler came to power, continued paying interest to international bankers even during the war. Go figure, right? Lenin took on the armies of every world power immediately after taking power because they invaded Russia. They were trying to get the money, the interest, and the loan payments back. And Lenin was an impediment to that effort. So they wanted to get their money back for the banks, and they literally all invaded. It was really incredible, and they still lost. Hitler rose to power unchallenged, except by the communists, okay? And the communists, if they had won in Germany, they would have done the same thing. They would have said, no, we're not going to pay the banks back all this money that they're demanding from us, okay? Lenin immediately seized all the banks, the infrastructure, and the factories from the oligarchic elites. Hitler did not dare challenge the monopoly capitalists. Lenin immediately gave land to the peasants. Hitler stole land to give to the big land-owning elites. Lenin led a revolution that turned Russia into a global superpower, which it remains to this day. Hitler led Germany to ruin and national humiliation. In effect, he was a loser, right? Leading it to be divided and occupied by America, which it remains to this day. Lenin defeated the armies of several global empires by inspiring unshakable faith, resolve, and conviction in the people. Hitler fought one war and lost, was barely attacked by the British and French in a phony war, only suffered crushing defeat at the hands of the Soviets. So I think it's actually pretty interesting. And it also is Christian to support what Nicky Rudd was saying there as well. I mean, it is quite literally biblical to oppose this predatory, parasitical interest that Ben Shapiro was saying makes the character in the movie the good guy. Jesus Christ, I don't know if you guys know the actual history behind this, but he sought to restore the biblical Jubilee year, which was a periodic cancellation of debts, emancipation of slaves, and redistribution of land. For this, he was killed by the creditor classes of Rome and Judea. Now, these are facts that, of course, get glossed over. People say, well, who killed Jesus? But they don't actually talk about, they have these long-standing debates about who it was. They don't actually talk about why it happened, okay? And biblical Jubilee, every single successful empire for the duration of success throughout human history, they did Jubilee years. They did cancel the debt. They did these periodic emancipations. They relieved the people of their debt. They forgave them of their sins. Right? You understand what that means now. Ben Shapiro is advocating for the antithesis to that. He is saying, no, the people will not be forgiven of their debt. The people will not be forgiven of their sins. And those who have the power will, in whatever way they see befitting, they will create more debt for the people. They will bestow more on their shoulders. And it doesn't matter how much the people suffer because they're all NPCs, right? And who cares about them? They're extras in the movie. What really matters is making sure that the bank survives. That's Ben Shapiro's whole argument here. And honestly, if I had to say that any argument, whether it's Nicky Rudd's or Ben Shapiro's, was fascistic, right? I would say it was Ben Shapiro's, right? But of course, that would upset the Daily Wire quite a bit if you were to say something like that. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.